Sorry, I was just trying to go Super Saiyan again. Shit. How y'all doing out there? Welcome back once again. It is time for the Super Sully Sunday stream, 3 p.m. U.S. Eastern here from our Boston studios, the hub of the multiverse. How is everyone doing out there today? We've got some extremo clickbait going on today with a very nicely rendered thumbnail, courtesy of Grok. Thank you, Grok. I want to thank Grok for the thumbnails. I'm going to try to put more thumbnails. Why? Because I hear that they generate more viewer interest, and we're still a small growing channel. So if this is your first time here, please smash that subscribe button and join us. We make lots of different kind of content here, but the main thing that we do is we talk about comic books. I've got in this very bag of Funnybooks that I bought. Oh yeah, why don't you bend your Funnybooks? Why don't you just roll them up and put them in your back pocket like you used to do when you were a child? Well, how else were you supposed to get them home while riding your bike home? Huh, smarty pants? How's it going out there today? Welcome to the Super Sully Sunday stream, where we might do a little cross-pollination with my other show, A Politically Incorrect Friday, where I don't give a shit about it. I said a swear word in the first 5 minutes. I will pay for that, literally. I mean, I just had supper too. I ate supper early, so I had the biggest burger I could make on garlic bread with garlic aioli and extra cheese and barbecue sauce. It was good. I love a burger. Burgers are like one of my favorite things to eat. I don't know about you. I love a burger. I'm wearing my MAGA hat. This is Sully MAGA. All right, make America grateful again. It's a joke. It's a hashtag. It's hashtag satire. It's meant to poke fun at both sides of the aisle, while hopefully building bridges of understanding, like with a sense of humor, being like, what is that? Is that a MAGA hat? No. A lady asked me this on the subway. I was wearing it. And this black Haitian lady, she walks right up to me and be like, excuse me, your hat, is that a MAGA hat? And I'm like, no. And we both laugh and had this moment of because it's about maybe sharing an experience. And, so just like, why not make America grateful again? I'd like to. Why should great gratitude has helped me on a really big interpersonal level. It's given me the traction I needed to conquer some really rooted stuff. Hello, James. Good to see you. Greetings, Sully. Actually, first Fantastic Four First Steps doesn't deserve the bombs it's gotten. I think it's the best Marvel movie in the last decade. Cheers. Maybe I'll catch you at Fan Expo Boston. Maybe you will. I'll be there Saturday only. Saturday. I got a Saturday pass, see? And I've got it behind my Dallas pass on my Dallas lanyard. Isn't that cool? Star Wars-y. It's Star Wars-y. It's just like Disney Star Wars. We distend our S's. We speak like sissies. And we pretend to be Star Wars. I'm so mean. I know. This is why I deserve to die alone. But yeah, I'll be there hopefully about 11 o'clock. I have a 2 o'clock play date to meet Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor for my photo. Yes, I spent a ton of money on that. Because that's like my big geek purchase of the year, like an early birthday present. For roughly the same price, I could have got the Transformers Skybound hardcover compendium box set, a companion to my G.I. Joe one. I'm currently trying, I've started the first. This contains all 155 Marvel issues, plus a few of the yearbooks and all 26 issues of special missions. And I think there's even some UK Action Force in this. I'm not entirely sure. I read the first issue 1 of G.I. Joe, and I've done a ton of times, like 1,000 times. And then there's in between issues 1 and 2 is some random stalker-led snowbound adventure, and I'm like, I've never read this before. But I did see a bunch of Action Force comics growing up at Tower Records at the corner of Massachusetts Avenue and Newbury Street in Boston. Newbury Comics as well, but Tower Records had a huge international magazine rack, and they had the British music, the NME, New Music Express. That's a huge British music magazine, and stuff like that in 2000 AD. And also Marvel UK, they had Transformers UK and Action Force, and Action Force was G.I. Joe repurposed for a European audience. A real American hero. No, we just took that off and we kept we just changed a clever erase here and there and relettering, and you go from G.I. Joe to the International Action Force. And Action Force was huge. They had different toys. Action Force was G.I. Joe in Britain, and Action Force was huge. I would have loved to have had some Action Force action figures, such as the Red Skull variants. Who were Action Force's bad guys? Because they all had they had a Destro, but his name wasn't Destro. He was someone else. There was a Cobra Commander, Action Man. The Force is Dr. X and the Council of Doom. And then there was Professor Gangrene. There was No Face, Tempest, a villain who can control the weather, and Baron Ironblood, who later becomes Cobra Commander. There was there's this huge thing, and Action Force had the same kind of play sets and vehicles, but in their own colors. They shared a mold, and then Action Force also had hyper realistic looking soldier figures for its time too, like British Frogman and SAS Paratrooper, looking like the UK military of the early 80s. Very impressive stuff. They had deserts. They also had now problematic, but the detailed WW2 World War II action figures in both Axis and Allies. So let your imagination go wild with what they offered for Axis action figures. You had bad guys. That's good, because your action figures need you need good guys and bad guys. It's not like today with this modern audience myth of oh, hello, salam, and good day to you, Mo. Good to see you from the other side of the world. And did the Fantastic Four bomb? Maybe so, maybe not. Was this for this my life I sought? Maybe so, maybe not. The garlic store starts to rot. Maybe you might want to get into conversations with our friend Aaron Sparrow, who is very versed. He was very interested in SummerSlam yesterday. And I liked one of his tweets, and he's like, Sully, are you watching SummerSlam? I'm like, no, I vicariously enjoy this through you, specifically. Sparrow is disgusted at wrestling fans these days on Twitter. He did on Twitter, yes. on X, on the Twitters. Yes, this is my MAGA hat. And I hope Ben Grimm doesn't wipe his arse with my MAGA hat, because it doesn't deserve that. But what do people deserve for being on one side of the aisle or not? I mean, what does it have? What is it when actors and actresses are so completely comfortable with what they consider to be appropriate while pimping a movie? And I know people will default to be like, hey, I was only joking. That was hyperbolic. What's a hyperbole? It's an exaggeration. It's a joke. It's jokey. It's not a hyperbole. Is such an extreme exaggeration that it's comical. You know what I mean? And but you have two of the stars of Fantastic Four First Steps who have entered the outright creepy zone. There's Pedro Pascal with his quite well documented lefty progressive, it is what it is kind of thing, you know. But then came an interview this week with one of the stars of the show, Eben Moss Bacharach, and who you might or might not know from the show The Bear. I don't watch The Bear. People tell me all the time, Sully, you're a chef. Why aren't you watching The Bear? And I'm like, I want to leave work at home. I don't want to take work home with me. And I also don't want, like, you know, other people's politics, you know, really, you know, is a part of my escapism. And just like this constant appeal to using everything as a platform. And Yule, my friend Yule Carter, he's big blue Yule for a reason, and I respect him, and I respect that, you know. And all of my close friends in my adult life here in Boston, you know, I could consider them libtards, true. And a few of my best friends at where I work, these blue collar people, they're definitely maggots, maggot, and I'm saying it without irony, you know what I mean. I made the Sydney Sweeney. Hello. And if you need some comic books and back issues, get a hold of Yule Carter. You can get a hold of him on Instagram at Fantastic Comics, and he can probably hook you up with if he's got it in stock. So hit him up. You could be your own mailbox away from having a local comic book shop in your life. It's true. But yeah, I consider myself as part of the radical far middle. But it's like, oh Christ, can't you just keep this? You know, I think Superman avoided that as much as it could. And then there was stuff about refugees and illegal immigrants, and the people really trying to dovetail the Superman story into current events, and to use Superman as a platform to disseminate their political feelings, when it's, you know, Superman's simple. You know, oh my goodness. Well, hello, AL. Good to see you. Good to see Pika's good to see you too. And I hope you caught, there was a joke in Wes's Thinking Critical's Comics Aficionados show description this weekend, where it said, and also starring Doc, who is AL's spirit animal. Well, have a good day, and thank you for dropping by and hanging out as long as you can and as long as you want. You can also catch the replay. And I did not see Fantastic Four First Steps. I didn't. The Absolute Batman trade is out next week. You know, that's a good book. It's just so fun. And this chonky Batman. Remember original Pikachu, like back in the 90s, and he was chubby and chonky? Well, this is like a chonky Batman. I love it. It's just, yeah. And if you can, if you missed it, catch Comics Aficionados from this past Saturday, yesterday. We had a great conversation. The comment section is heating up because I made a really, something I believe in, something I noticed a long time ago. But I dropped it. We were talking about movies, and Avatar by James Cameron came up because we were talking about movies a little bit. And the third installment of James Cameron's Avatar movies is coming out later this year. And people are saying that is going to be the $1 billion blockbuster. And that... thank you. I am so sus. And that Moana, the live-action Moana, broke $1 billion. It's the only film this year to break $1 billion so far. I thought that Superman was going to break $1 billion easily. I thought it was going to hit 2 because it's Superman, and it's got primary colors, and it feels like it's hopeful, and it's got aspiration, and it feels like it's got some escapism in there. But no, it fell flat. Superman 2025 box office. Go. Let's see. IMDb is it has earned over $300 million in the US. It's the first DC movie to cross the $300 million mark since the Batman in 2022. And but it hasn't been doing too well internationally. Like, I saw its Chinese numbers and I was horrified. I was like, holy shit. It's still playing, and I don't know if I'd go see it. Hey Lane, how's it going? Good to see you. I'm doing well, and how are you doing? I'm looking at the Wikipedia, and its budget was $225 million, and its box office so far is $551.3 million. So it's probably breaking even right now, because there's a rule of thumb when it comes to being a YouTuber talking about superhero movies or any kind of movie in general, that you have to take its stated budget and then you have to multiply it by 2, perhaps 2.5, because the budget here is about the production of the movie. It does not include marketing, which costs sometimes just as much as the budget of the movie. So it's like a rule of thumb where, so it looks like at $500 million, at $551.3 million, that Superman is not a flop. No, it wasn't Moana. Was it Lilo and Stitch? Sorry, it was Lilo and Stitch. Thank you. Sorry. That broke $1 billion. That was the live action Disney movie this year. And no, I misspoke. I that's how much I care about Disney. But Superman, broke even. Yeah, huh? At least. So buttons. But Fantastic Four had a budget of $200+ million and has had a box office of $368.7 million. So the budget now, the you'd probably have to lean closer to the 2.5 on this. So I would say, because Fantastic Four was heavily marketed, Superman as well. I mean, there was a big marketing for that, and like for everything from like popcorn buckets to great posters and everything. I mean, there's a lot going on in this movie that I would love to. I'm going to see it sooner or later. I will. I mean, but yeah. So it's this is technically not a flop because it made back its posted budget. So buttons, but it's not a hit either. It's like, and lots of people, I've heard a mixed bag of things about it. Have you seen the Fantastic Four movie? Let me know in the comment section or in the live chat. I would love to know. Did you watch Fantastic Four First Steps? Did you like this movie? Did you get the popcorn bucket, the $80 Galactus head, or the Herbie drink caddy? I don't know how much Herbie cost, But my best friend Brian went and saw Fantastic Four First Steps with his wife and his 18-year-old son with a grown-up geek. I mean, Brian's another me. He just knows more about some things than I do. I say that in a heartbeat, man. Seriously. And if you're gonna be at Dallas Fan Expo on Saturday, I'm bringing Brian. Or Brian's going, or bringing me, or actually Brian's bringing me. He's driving. But we're both going together, childhood best friends, geeking out together. I know Thomas Gilkey, the Gilkman, the Gilkinator returns. The Gilkman returns, rather. And Thomas is also doing, he's just started up his Flutie 5K, his annual fundraiser. And I will leave a link so you can check that out. And I'll be talking about it every weekend, basically until this 5K. It's in October. He does it every year. Thomas has always been part of the top individual fundraisers, not corporate entities, because they have the ability to marshal lots of fundraising. But an individual person doing the grassroots on their own, soliciting from people they know and all this stuff, Thomas is always in the top 3 that I've noticed for the past couple of years. So we're gonna help put Thomas over, and I'll be reminding you about this every weekend until you do. He's got he's 1/10 away from it. He got 1/10 of his goal today, and I'm really happy for him. Mo saw Superman, and he might see Fantastic Four this Tuesday. AL didn't see any of the movies. I'm pretty sure Yule Carter saw Superman, and not sure about Fantastic Four. And I know Clownfish and Neon liked Fantastic Four a lot, and that's what and I heard a lot of good things about it. I hear so Brian said he liked it, that his wife thought it was boring, and I didn't know what his son thought. I'll ask him on Saturday. Maybe you can ask him on Saturday too if you run into us. We're gonna be 2:00. I have a photo up with Obi-Wan and Anakin, and that's going to be hung over my Star Wars shelf. Yeah, that cost a fucking lot. Mo has got a shaved head too. He went completely bald. He is an Arab Lex Luthor. That is amazing. I like that a lot. But okay, so do you think that this movie would have made more money if the actors just could have kept their fucking mouth shut in interviews about polarizing shit? I mean, that annoys me as a consumer, as a fan of fiction, as a needer of escapisms. I would love our space to be free of other people's strife. I mean, I'm a spiritual guy, Reverend Sully, and it's a hokey internet ordination that I got 10 minutes before April Fool's Day on March 31st, 1998. So, but I've always been a spiritual guy. I'm a seeker. So this was my way of embracing that and becoming a church of one and being a kind of spiritual go-to for people my age, my peers, those who have abandoned the religions and churches or temples of their upbringing, and they need to have some. It's like what Buddha said. There is the Sangha. The Sangha meaning the spiritual community, the group. And I found one, and did I found it as an act, as a verb? Well, the second, I found it as in sought and like, oh, I here it is, I got you. And also to found, that found is the active verb found, because to find is the active verb, found is the past tense. But to found in the active tense means to establish, create. And so I kind of, so I found myself in more than one way. So Buttons, So yeah, I am just this spiritual guy. And I forgot where I was going with that, but it was going with the I liked spiritual stuff. I'm an amateur theologian. This is why I'm Reverend Sully. Okay, this is all ties into everything. Just as part of the conversation. But I'm Reverend Sully, Reverend Eric O'Sullivan of the Universal Life Church of Modesto, California. It's a hokey internet ordination, but it's legally recognized. I've performed 4 wedding ceremonies and 3 infant naming ceremonies. It's like a solemnizing, and my signature solemnizes the wedding certificate, making it legal in all 50 United States. So I've performed weddings. I have. I had a really plain robe that I wore for weddings. I got it at the Christian supply store, the Catholic supply store on Chauncey Street behind Jordan Marsh in downtown Crossing, Boston here, the shopping district. It was the only smock with no kairos, no fish, no embroidery. It was completely like the ecru color, and plain. And it worked. And and I wore it for these ceremonies. I would get a little black diary book, and I would only use the first couple of pages. And a wedding is it's got 5 parts. It's got the opening, it's got the ending, the vows, the rings, and somewhere in between you can have your friends show up and read some cool spiritual passages or gospel texts. You know what I mean? But it's like you have 5 fingers. I have not done a wedding ceremony in a long time, but I am still a seeker. I am still an amateur theologian, and I am still Reverend Sully, and it's who I am. But there was this wonderful book, this theology book called The Sacred and the Profane by Mircea Eliade. And this is a really foundation piece of the mid-20th century of theology. This is a theologian's book. Young Man Luther by Eric Erickson. The Sacred and Profane by Eliade. And this is just part of the canon. Eliade took world religions like how I did, and sees the commonalities and in the mythology but he said that there were in Aboriginal and tribal customs, there were a lot of similarities, especially making a sacred structure, the prototypical temple. Usually they would have some kind of log, a very large log or something, and that could eventually be the tent pole or the altar. But it was called the axis mundi. That is it is the let's look it up real quick so I don't have to make up shit. Eliade, axis mundi. Eliade, okay. In Mircea Eliade's theory, the axis mundi is a symbolic concept representing a sacred space that connects the 3 cosmic levels: heaven, earth, and the underworld. Yes, that's exactly what I thought it was. It is often depicted as a central pillar or pole, a tree, or a mountain, and it serves as the focal point of communication between these realms and the divine. It is essentially at the center of the world where the sacred manifests itself and where humans can connect with the divine. And so Eliade states that so when you build the structure around the axis mundi, all right, when you enter the gateway, the door that leads you into this hut, into this church, into this temple, you are in fact leaving temporal space. You are leaving the real world behind, and you are entering this sacred space, this place of communion with the Lord. And that so I think that's taken many forms over the years, but also we can see this. I can see this also in the cinema, and that we leave. Hey, Adam Frey, good to see you. Welcome. No perch today, Adam. I'm sorry, but he will buy you a beer if you ever meet him. He's a good guy. We leave behind the real world when we enter the sacred space of the cinema. and we enter a different place. And it's not to make light or even make a fair comparison to a church, a temple, a synagogue, just an ashram, a mosque, anything. It's not meant to be like a fair comparison, but it's meant to have like a sense of joy, a sense of imagination, and a sense of like, if you think of the screen, the movie screen as the axis mundi, I see that. That is romance to me. My spirituality and faith is very romantic. So come full circle. Let's get back to Superman. I didn't see it at the movie theater. I decided, hey, I'll see it eventually on streaming somewhere. Same went for Fantastic Four, but if I knew, I would have liked to have seen this, I guess. I mean, and I would have hitched a ride with Brian and his family. We're like, oh, come on, let me go too. If I really wanted to see it, because I mean, the set design and the costume design looks amazing. Even though she's race swapped, the Silver Surfer looks pretty darn good. He's got a comics accurate Galactus. You know what I mean? Remember, Galactus can shrink and enlarge, at command. You know what I mean? So there's only so small I think he can get, but he usually gets pretty darn big when he wants to eat a planet. It has this really awesome vibe and look. This retro, this futurist's view of a hypothetical 1960s. And they're the only superheroes on this Earth, apparently. And it's a multiverse Earth, that's not the MCU Earth. And remember, MCU Earth is not the Marvel 616. That's, if they mention it in the movies about MCU being 616, in the comics, I believe the MCU Earth is defined as Earth 19999999. You can look that up. Let me know if I'm off on that, because most recently the TVA, the Time Variance Authority mini, that plays directly. It's like a direct sequel to the Loki TV Disney Plus show. So, and Loki is part of the multiverse that MCU Earth takes place on. Blah 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 blah. All right, but we all know. Okay, do we have to talk about Pedro Pascal and like just how and who he is? I'm going to share this tab. I mean, the top caption isn't Pedro's thing. This is, but it's a screen grab of Pascal is Punk, which is his Instagram page. What up, Captain? Good to see you. How you doing? I saw that, and I like the No Way Home outfit at the very end. I hope they keep it brighter blue than a darker blue. Because that reminds me of like Ramita and Ditko and all that. But this was Pedro Pascal a couple of years back, and that's just like, wow. I know that you're this is the part where like there's an unlikability and then an insufferability to it. And then also, I mean, sorry, the right does have it too, seriously. But I mean, the left is so often just makes these equivocations, this weaponized empathy, these and weaponized equivocations. It's like that's really heavy, I think. And then remember, Gina Carano was fired in a way because she made this post. And this is like, there's a quote part in this that wasn't her own words. She was just basically cut and pasted. This is an old World War II picture of a Jewish lady being chased down the street by her neighbors. And, well, back when anti-Semitism wasn't a huge thing, an accepted thing too, I mean, do you think Gina Carano would get fired today with the level of anti-Semitism that's accepted in this day and age? No, it's kind of a hit job because this came around February of 2021, 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago. Wow. And this is like peak COVID, peak lockdown age. The Mandalorian actress, what did Gina Carano say? The actor has been fired from the Disney show. She wasn't really fired. She just didn't have her contract renewed. You know what I mean? And but she was called abhorrent in the media by Star Wars.com itself. The Mandalorian actress, let me just blow this up a bit, is told how she was headhunted by Disney's Lucasfilm because she wasn't going along with the studio's narrative after she was dropped from The Mandalorian for holding abhorrent views. Carano played Cara Dune in the hit Disney Plus Star Wars sequel, but will no longer feature due to an Instagram post she shared on February 10th. And this is on February 11th, this article is written. So what did she say and how did she respond to being asked? Who is Gina Carano? She's a professional actress who previously competed as a mixed martial artist, and she starred in a string of action films. Yes. Carano fought as a lightweight champion in MMA, winning 7 of 8 pro fights before retiring to become an actress. She's been in Fast and Furious 6, Deadpool, and latterly Mandalorian. What did Gina Carano say about Jewish people? On 10 February, she likened Nazis' behavior towards Jewish people, taking them from their homes, beating and killing them as part of a mass genocide, as the same as hating someone for their political views. Her Instagram post reads, which you can read it for yourself. She then deleted the post, but not before it was screenshotted and shared across several social media platforms with hashtag #FireGinaCarano trending on Twitter. Yeah, many Twitter users also took umbrage at Carano's regular use of offensive language, disregard for mask wearing, and sharing of conspiracy theories in her tweets. The 38-year-old is known for her controversial political and social views, having blocked Twitter accounts in August 2020, which supported BLM. In 2020, she also posted comments on Twitter which supported theories of U.S. presidential election fraud and was unsupportive of mask wearing because masks didn't work. I know. Carano is also accused of transphobia after changing her Twitter name to include Beep Bop Boop as a response to, being leveraged to share her pronouns. She responded to the backlash with a tweet that read, "They mad because I won't put pronouns in my bio to show my support for trans lives. After months of harassing me in every way, I chose to put 3 very controversial words in my bio, beep, bop, boop," which was also Star Wars droid speak. I'm not against trans lives at all. They need to find a less aggressive representation. The Star Wars actress, the Disney Plus actress, was quick to delete the extension to her Twitter name, later stating Mandalorian co-star Pedro Pascal helps her understand the reasoning behind sharing preferred pronouns. Because Pedro Pascal has a trans sister. His sibling has transitioned to womanhood and is like that. So Pedro Pascal is actually a pretty big proponent of, trans rights. And that's like, that's cool with me. Sure, why not? I don't care, She said people need to be okay with having conversations, having difficult conversations, with having different opinions. What's wrong with having a different opinion? Why does everyone have to straight go to demoralizing because maybe they just didn't think the way that you did? What has the response been to her views on the Holocaust? Following the backlash Lucasfilms, the producer of Mandalorian, addressed their contract with Carano in a statement. This is an official statement from Lucasfilms. Remember that. The statement said, Gina Carano is not currently employed by Lucasfilm, and there are no plans for her to be in the future. Nevertheless, her social media posts denigrating people based on their cultural and religious identities are abhorrent and unacceptable, unquote. Shortly after the statement was released, the agency who represents Gina Carano, UTA, dropped her as a client. The hashtag Fire Gina Carano has been used in thousands of tweets that suggest Carano is anti-Semitic, transphobic, a COVID denier, and a racist. One read, one day we get a beautiful story about Pedro Pascal and his goodness and his support for inclusivity. The next we're reminded that Gina Carano has a lizard brain and should not be trusted around human beings. Hashtag Fire Gina Carano. Another, which received over 8,000 likes and 2,000 retweets, read that when at that moment, when a transphobic, anti-Semitic, police bootlicker, COVID denier, and Trump supporter played the character who fought her whole life against oppression and tyranny, Lucasfilm should be ashamed. Fire her. Hashtag Fire Gina Carano. However, others took to her side in the controversy. The American presenter Dave Rubin, Disney has canceled Gina Carano, so I'm canceling my Disney Plus. We need to stop giving these people our money, and we must build new franchises. Gina, come on my show, blah, blah, blah. How has she responded? She, on February 21st, an interview which she aired, she said she was canceled by Disney as she did not fit their political narrative. So blah, blah, blah. I adore Pedro. There's still so much love there. She also explained she still adores her former co-star, Pedro Pascal, despite their opposing political views. I know that we have both misstepped on our tweets. We're not perfect. We're human beings. He's not a bad human being. He's a sweet person. Pascal had previously published tweets likening Trump supporters to Nazis. You know, she is suing them. Yeah, she. The last I heard about the Carano versus Lucasfilms case is that it elevated into a real case. It will be tried, and discovery must be maintained. Discovery means that both sides have to produce. You should have complete transparency to, with documents, receipts, internal memos. So discovery is a huge part of this, because discovery will show if there was, if there was collusion, this kind of thing. Just like, and why did Gina Carano get fired for that, and Pedro did not get fired for this? Or what about someone else too? Like, where did it go? This is from The Independent on July 31st. The Bear star features in the new superhero movie as Ben Grimm, the Thing. Fantastic Four star Ebon Moss-Bachrach says he would throw fascists into space if he was given superpowers. This is at an interview. I saw it on YouTube. I saw the clip on YouTube or on Twitter, or one of the things, man. So, and he's sitting next to Pedro Pascal, and they're doing a junket interview for this movie that we're talking about, Fantastic Four: First Steps. Ebon Moss-Bachrach has said that he would, quote, throw fascists into space if he were given the superpowers of his Fantastic Four character. The 48-year-old actor, who rose to fame on the TV show Girls and The Bear, plays the character of Ben Grimm, aka The Thing, of who you'll see using a mega hat as toilet paper in the thumbnail of this very show. In the Marvel blockbuster... Okay, in the Marvel movie, The Fantastic Four: First Steps, Moss-Bachrach was interviewed by IMDb alongside cast members Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, and Joseph Quinn. When they were asked if you could borrow your character's powers for one day, what's the first thing you would do? In the film, Moss-Bachrach's character is imbued with superhuman strength. There's a handful of fascists that I would just throw into outer space. The actor replied, "That's what I'd do." The remark prompted a cheer from Pascal, while Moss Baccarat was subsequently praised by Fantastic Four fans when his unexpected answer went viral on social media. Even Moss Barrack, was asked what he'd do if he had the Thing's powers, and he gave the most Ben Grimm answer possible. One person wrote on X Twitter. Another person wrote, "I always know he was a good one," while Moss Baccarat did not specify who he meant by a handful of fascists. Many on social media have interpreted the remark as a dig at the U.S. right. Fantastic Four was released in cinemas earlier this month. In a mixed 3-star review. Yes, it's unfortunate that Marvel comes from after the yada 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 yakety schmackety. Yeah, so that's reading articles on YouTube shows. I get that from H. Pearl Davis, and I get that from Robert Meyer Burnett and Gary Nerdrotic, Beekler. You know, this is how it's done. This is a YouTube show. Yeah. We read articles and stuff, and we read your super chats too, like AL. The Carano firing is wrong. Agree. Pedro Pascal is all handsy, literally. And why doesn't he get handsy and anxious with Bella Ramsey on The Last of Us, huh? She's of age. She's 20, right? How old is Bella? Bella. I didn't see a Bella Ramsey countdown clock either. She's 21 years old. Yeah. As you know, I know. Handsy with Ramsey. That's not a thing. Oh. Fantastic Four First Steps has grossed $11.7 million domestically in its second Friday on the big screen, making for a devastating 80% drop from its debut. And I'm reading that from Variety Magazine's Twitter X account. 80% drop. It premiered last week. It's not a blockbuster. No. It's going to barely break even. If its marketing wasn't as much as its production costs, which that's usually the case in Hollywood, I would have gone to see this movie if it wasn't for the unlikability of Pedro Pascal and of Oben Che. Isn't maybe Che Guevara? I'm not sure. That's his middle name, Che, C-H-E, like Che Guevara, the Cuban revolutionary. So Oben Che Moss Baccarat is like, I'm like, who fits to be a fascist? What is a fascist? I mean, seriously, are you being serious? Okay, well, I ask Rock because I'm that kind of guy. I like to ask Rock because I have I pay for Twitter. I'm one of those blue check marks. I pay $8 a month, non-premium, so I get less ads than you free people. Okay, so I actually ask Rock, why do progressives overuse the term fascist? Do they even use the term correctly? Progressives often use fascist to label political opponents or policies they strongly disagree with, particularly those tied to authoritarianism, nationalism, or conservative ideologies. The term's overuse stems from... I'm doing fucking chicken hands like a woman. Sorry. I'm so sorry about that. The term's overuse stems from a mix of emotional rhetoric and strategic framing. It's a powerful word that evokes strong reactions, especially given its historical ties to oppressive regimes like Mussolini's Italy or Hitler's Germany. By applying it broadly, it's used to demonize opponents, rally supporters, and signal moral urgency, often without precise historical or ideological grounding. The term is frequently misused. Fascism as a political ideology involves ultra-nationalism, centralized control of society and economy, suppression of dissent, and a cult of leadership, often tied to a rejection of both liberalism and socialism. Many progressives' use of fascist stretch this definition, applying it to anything from strict immigration policies to free speech advocacy or even traditional conservatism, which don't necessarily align with fascism's core tenets. For example, calling a policy fascist because it limits certain rights ignores that fascism is a specific system, not just any authoritarian tendency. Now, this is something like Grok is verbalizing everything I've thought about this. This is why I asked Grok. Grok was able to elucidate in a specific way that this is. I agree with that. This is that the progressives completely overuse that term. They really do. Do they know what they're even saying? I mean, seriously. Next, they'll be calling you carpetbaggers and not vagabonds, but scallywags and carpetbaggers. That's what Democrats called Republicans. And after the Civil War, I mean, look it up. Why not? Let's use those. Those are just as contextual, I guess, even more, because it says something about American policy, and it's not just some 19th century German-based 20th century mid 20th century friggin' atrocity making system of government. No, gosh. Exactly. That said, some progressive critiques pointing to things like state surveillance, militarized policing. Sorry, I can't look at the chat and read this at the same time. Militarized policing or populist strongmen can overlap with fascist traits, but the term's casual overuse dilutes its meaning, risks trivializing historical fascism, and often shuts down nuanced debate. Yes! Critics on the right also argue it's a hypocritical tactic, given progressive support for certain state controls, e.g., censorship of misinformation, that can be seen as authoritarian. Both sides have their blind spots. Progressives might exaggerate fascists' threats to push their agenda, while conservatives might dismiss legitimate concerns about authoritarianism to avoid scrutiny. The truth lies in dissecting specific policies or actions rather than flinging labels. Even Grok knows, a superhero wouldn't fling a label. Oban is not Ben Grimm. It's like the whole thing. There was this meme of Superman, and he's going by a flaming house, and there's the guy that he's got to save, but he's wearing a MAGA hat, so Superman flies away. And there's a whole thing. Oh yeah, even Superman would not do that. Superman would save anyone. He would. That's what makes him Superman. He wouldn't let his bias, his political, thing interfere with his duty. So all this is political shit. It's like encroaching on our escapism, on this axis mundi, on this sacred space of leaving behind the real world just for a little bit to have communion and touch something, that is beyond us, for escapism or to have our communion with the divine. That matters to me. And so Pedro Pascal and Mr. Pascal and Mr. Pascal and Baccarat, Moss Baccarat, reduce that experience for me. And I don't want to reward a talent doing that. I mean, I am in the radical far middle. I have both conservative and classically liberal values. I'm not very progressive. I do believe in feminism, and I do believe that it has its limits. It's like everything else in this world. I do believe in, I believe in a lot of things. I believe in having a left and a right wing, and you need them both in order to achieve and sustain flight. But enough's enough. I mean, your agents, they need to step in with you people and retrain you and make sure stop agitating and polarizing the paying customers, the audience. I would have gone to seen this. I would have bucked. I would have thrown in my $20. Now I don't want to. And it's not because I'm a conservative. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a maggot. I'm not that kind of maggot. I'm this kind of maggot. You know what I mean? But we're all worm food one day, aren't we not? Oof. Oh, Benvolio. Oh, Mercutio. Oh, Romeo, wherefore art thou? Oh, you've made worm meal of me. A curse on both your houses. Oh, man. Unscripted, unfiltered, unrehearsed. This is just straight from the heart and straight from the hip. It's Reverend Sully's station here. If you haven't subscribed yet, why don't you smash that like button? Why don't you why don't you subscribe? Coming for the big win, you know. But maybe like the less I know about you, the better in a way. Unless you are in on my life. I mean, it's kind of like that Sting song from the mid '80s after he broke up with the Police. The Russians love their children too. You know, yes, the Russians love their children too. And that was in the Cold War, and that was a beautiful song. And it was an appeal to empathy, an appeal to eliminate the other by seeing yourself and the other over across there. Namaste. All right, let's get to some comic books. I read 13 Marvel comic books this week, and I bought 4. 3 of them were Marvel books. So, and I've read, no lie, the month of July, I have read 101 different floppies. I did. Let's see. Let's get to those capsule reviews first. Okay, I read 13 Marvel books, courtesy of a buddy of mine who's a reviewer and gets review copies, and he shares them with me. And then what do? I give him my reviews. So I earn my keep, and I give reviews to a review culture and a review show. You might hear them if you watch Wes and Jim's Hot or Not at Thinking Critical's Patreon. It's like, hey, what did Sully read this week? I've never listened to the show, but I heard that there's a segment, that I contribute to in this oblong fashion. So, hey, Dwayne, good to see you. Today, everyone is a potential celebrity. This is true. Oh my goodness! You got to retweet that stuff? Did you retweet it? I have to look. It's amazing what you don't see on your timelines. It's like I subscribe to people because I want to see what they're tweeting, and then when you go to their individual pages, you're like, this was not on my timeline. And the eternal questions. What did I read this week? It was Bring on the Bad Guys, a One World Under Doom tie-in book, but it's pretty darn good. It's Loki, Bring on the Bad Guys, and this was pretty good, to be honest. As a single story. Anthony Oliveira was the writer. I don't remember hearing about him or not. Jethro Morales is the artist, and does a really good story about the Prince of Lies, Loki, the trickster god, having to make a deal with Mephisto, the Marvel devil. And so Mephisto trusts Loki to carry out the deal, using the blade to kill an innocent to collect a soul. And so so Mephisto has been doing this. He did it with Doom, with the Abomination, and now with Loki, and Green Goblin too. So this is the 4th issue of this tie-in. This has been one of the better stories. I mean, this Red Hulk has been pretty good for these tie-ins to the overstory of One World Under Doom. So this is going to come down to Doom versus Mephisto, I'm pretty sure. And then there's a backup tale by Mark Guggenheim. Really good art by Michael St. Maria. And it's like, it kind of reminds me of Tales of the Lantern Corps back in the Blackest Night, War of Light days on DC Comics. But Bring on the Bad Guys Loki was pretty good. Oh man, what a terrible book this is. Speaking of One World Under Doom, why don't we share some screen so we can share a window. Really? No, Chrome tab. All right. There we are. This is a boring book. It's One World Under Doom, GODS. The supposed huge, revolutionary, but it kind of failed, Jonathan Hickman miniseries about magic, and you kind of have a Stephen Strange knockoff, an original character, Win, yeah, and Ryan North wrote this. and it's filled with Everqueer. It's filled with this purple color and Girl Boss and a lot of talking, yak, 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 yak. I mean, there's not a lot goes on. It's not a good book. I do. Deliberate. Okay, here's a good. Captain Affinity and I are big fans of Blade Runner. Not just Blade Runner, but talking about the humanity or synthetic nature of Rick Deckard, the Blade Runner himself. So since the director's cut and final cut and the addition or the reinsertion of a deleted unicorn scene that allegedly may or may not have been cut out to make the 1981 release a bit more marketable. That's why they added the narration and the happy ending with the found footage from the opening of that got reused from The Shining, all the green and verdant stuff. 82, thank you, man. Yeah, and there's a part of me that thinks that, and I can respect Ridley Scott for doing this too, like this. There's a part of me that thinks that Ridley Scott put the unicorn scene back in it to give it the bump, to give it the mystique, because we're for a re-release, and now you have some perhaps manufactured outrage. Maybe you have this manufactured ambiguity. That we really didn't talk about. I don't remember talking about this before. The unicorn scene got put in there. I've been watching Blade Runner since I was 10, since it came out on video. I had the Marvel Comics adaptation. I did not see it at the movie theater. I saw it on home video as a new release. I'll tell you, I remember we rented it, and I remember we got my mom's second husband, my first stepdad, Frankie. He's from Brooklyn, New York, Bay Ridge, and we ordered from Mr. Magoo's Pizza in South Boston, and he ordered a large pizza pie, and so the pie, that's how a New Yorker would order a pizza, a pie. The pie was actually a menu item that had everything on it. It was heaped with vegetables, and I was so disappointed because I was like, I would throw a fit if it had veggies on it, and it was so wet because of all the fucking veggies and steamy, and like had to pick all the veggies off, and I just remembered, I don't, and see, yeah, and it goes, and the conversation goes on. They're right over here. These two books are really essential for understanding the nuances and the ins and outs of Blade Runner and its interpretations. This is Future Noir. It's the second edition that includes some production stuff about 2049. But in these interviews, Harrison Ford and Rutger Hauer are both kind of like the thing about it that they thought Deckard was a human. And I think it was so eloquently put. There were 3 chapters in Rutger Hauer's autobiography that cover Blade Runner and its production. Great story, by the way. I love Rutger Hauer. This is a good book. But he comes to the point where he's like, what would be the point of it be if Deckard was a human? I mean, it would be a puppet show. And I just think so yeah, I have the 5-disc set that has all 4 major versions. International, it's the release version, which is called the International / Criterion version, that has extra scene, like when Batty puts the nail through his hand. That was cut out for the U.S. theatrical version. Just that little bit, and a couple of seconds of Chris flopping around after being shot, too. And like that's what separates the international uncut version from the U.S. theatrical version. Literally, like 7 seconds of to get it to be an R rating, I guess. Then comes the work print edition, which is it has a different title card. It doesn't have the focus on the eye and the cold open, and It has a different voiceover, and it's only right at the very end when Batty's dying, and it's a voiceover narration by Harrison Ford. But it's not there the entire movie until the very end. This is called the work printed cut. Then comes the director's cut. When did the director's cut come out? Blade Runner director's cut came out in 1992. 10 years after its release. So it's for its 10th anniversary. And put back into it was the unicorn scene. It was a waking dream that Deckard has at the piano. And then it's actually, and there's a little extra put in for the final cut for 2007, where you can actually see that Deckard's awake while he's having this vision. And this is just I'm do a reread on this too, just because it's that good. And I actually just finished another reread of Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep by Philip K. Dick. I've read that several times in the past few years because it doesn't matter to the movie. It doesn't matter to Ridley Scott's original movie or the director or final cuts. They share a Venn diagram. There's an overlap. It's not a direct adaptation. And in this disc set, it has Dangerous Days. That's the documentary, the making of. Wow, and it's got like deleted scenes in it and all this stuff. It's pretty good. I'm a huge Blade Runner fan. Am I a fan of the Blade Runner comics? No. Am I a fan of 2049? Villeneuve's 20? No. I think it's 2/3 of a good Blade Runner movie. But then the last act, anything with Harrison Ford, it's like fuck. It would have been better if it was just about Kay. Well, that's my story. I'm sticking to it. Where were we? We're talking about comic books. So yeah, One World Under Doom, Gods #1 was fucking terrible. The Spider-Man Goofy book was more entertaining. It was better. It was just talk, girl boss, everywhere. It was bad. Hulk 27 came out this week. It was really good. Let's stick a pin in that. Savage Wolverine #1 came out. It's a one shot. It's a reprinted material of Marvel Infinity Comics, written by Tom Bloom, and a lot of art in this by Devmalia Pramanik. And I like that guy a lot. He's also doing Moon Knight. He's doing Moon Knight Fistaconchi right now. He's so good. It's a really, really good book. He's a great artist. Check him out. I've been following him. I've kept my eye out for him ever since Ram V's The Vigil #5 on DC Comics a few years back. And that's about it. It's really long in the tooth in the middle of the story, but it has a good ending. It lands pretty well, and I think that it had a good beginning and a strong ending, and a lot of fluff in between. So I gave it like a 6.5, and it was a nice point to argue with Wes about. He hated it, and it's good to have robust conversations about new comics and about like what were its strengths. Well, I thought it had a good ending. I thought it landed really well, and I love Deb Promalik's art. So it's like, it was more of a win than a loss. J. Michael Straczynski's Spider-Man versus the Sinister 16. This wraps up JMS's odd pairings, kind of like Marvel 2-in-1s selection that he's been doing. It wasn't a great book. The last page was really nice because it's non-canonical. It's not even like a 0.1 story set in between two random issues from 30 plus years ago. It doesn't denote anything like that. It's a story about a restaurant that it's failing. So, and they need the insurance money. So what they do is they set it up where they invite superheroes and supervillains to have this complimentary meal, so that the entire floor is full. with every table is filled with all these different superheroes and supervillains, and they're trying like heck to keep the peace. And Peter brings MJ, you know what I mean, as a date, and then this story that they're together, you know, they haven't broken up yet, or you know, so, and of course all hell breaks loose, and of course, you know, it's the She-Hulk, you know what I mean, figures it out that like, hey, you're doing this for the insurance money, this is some setup, and you know, so there's some kind of moral ambiguity there, maybe letting them get away with it. And the last page is about Mary Jane and Peter saying I love you, and I think it's J. Michael Straczynski's way of saying hi, I'm sorry for, you know, for one more day, you know, maybe that's it. Hey Roman, good to see you, ahoy. I'm sorry, I mean, I do it over here, it's gonna block, you know, my microphone blocks that, plus I'm a civilian, so you know, I shouldn't even be saluting anyone anyway. Spider-Man Wolverine number 3. I was a mixed bag for me at first. I literally had to reread it a few times to make sense of what was going on. So stick a pin in that. We'll come back to that. Star Wars The High Republic finale issue number 1, one shot. I said it was a wet fart in white jeans. Like, and that is not a Sydney Sweeney reference, but it could be because I am clever. Wow, what a flat way to end after all that. And a lot of the High Republic ended up being decent and maybe even kind of good in a sea of this Disney Star Wars malarkey. I mean, the High Republic Volume 3 and 4 were pretty decent. They were spot on, typical Star Wars stories. That's the best I can say. There was no flying rock. There was no side head shave. She grew up and grew her hair out, you know. But we had a big bad, and we had, you know, a big bad that was a threat and a Star Wars level, you know. And there was a big bad who was not ambiguous, who was irredeemable. And I really like that's a really good tenet of Star Wars, that you have good versus evil. It's not about the moral ambiguity and the needs of the modern storytelling. Thank you very much. And let's see. Yeah, so but it's so unnecessary. This was such an unnecessary way to end, you know, Keeve Trennis, the girl we've seen go from side head shape Padawan to full-fledged Jedi Master. By the end of it, shows her final decision and what she's doing. And but does it matter? Does any of this matter? I mean, you know, it's Disney Star Wars. And some of it was decent, but it's still Disney Star Wars. And, you know, I just got to say, like, Charles Soule, Kevin Scott, you know what I mean? They were doing the yeoman's work for this. But this was just unnecessary. Thing number 3 was okay. It was full of action, but it was kind of annoying. At least it had good art, and it was full of action sequences. But I had a hard time, especially caring. I had a hard time caring about what was going on in the book. I was like, what is going on with Ben and protecting this kid? Perhaps, you know, story-wise, if it revealed a little more of what was up with the kid, what made like every bad guy accepting a contract to kidnap or yeet this kid, and Ben's, you know, loyalty to protect, which is, I don't know. It wasn't that good. Ultimates 14, though, written by Dennis Camp with art by Juan Frigeri, was pretty decent. It was good. I'll say it was good. I'll give it a 7, maybe a 7.5. The art was really good. It elevated the story, and it was perhaps Dennis Camp's most cogent single issue that actually reads like a typical and enjoyable superhero floppy. It was good. That's all I got. Enough said. You know, Ultimate Spider-Man 19 had some great art and some interesting ideas. The Venom angle's the best part. The Mole Man part was actually cool. Peter lying like a spider, laying in wait in a web. That was a great visual. Like he's in his old condo and he's just waiting for one of the bad guys to show up because he knew that one of them would, you know. And But the last couple of Pete and MJ pages, I mean, it would have been rewarding if they just simply went to bed and, Pete and his wife were, making sweet love or something. But, it didn't. It was just talky, and I don't know. And I'm really kind of disappointed. Oh my goodness. Speak and ye shall receive. Wow. How does that happen? I don't get it. Oh boy. But my hard on for this title came to a flaccid, bemused disinterest as soon as I heard it's ending at issue 24 in December. That's the train going by. It's good. It's literally the best that Marvel can do in this now. Yet it's not great, and I hope there's a better payoff from Hickman himself about this. But if there's not, he's handing over storytelling duties to, the big story to Dennis Camp, and all that guy does is use these stories for general audiences to push his very own political polemics. And I'm just like, oh, come the fuck on. I mean, you just showed right here in Ultimates 14 that you can do the yeoman's work. You can tell really good superhero stories. It's the introduction of Wanda and Pietro Maximoff, and it's really and it's just a straight up action superhero story. It's good stuff. Vision and Scarlet Witch was visually pretty good, but it's a giant nothing burger. It's nothing, yeah. Walking around talking to some fake version of an imaginary child or something. Werewolf at Night #1. It was in the bad side of decent. It was not very good, but hopefully it's going to make all those Werewolf at Night fans happy. All of them, I need a sip of water. Oof. Mm-hmm. That's what I needed. Awesome. Yeah, I saw one of them. Cool. Boy. Let's see. And what did I get this week? What's in the bag? What did I get from my local comic book shop this week? I'll show you. I spent about $21 and I got 4 comic books and one interesting publication that I just wanted to show off. I got it for this is free. This is 128 pages, 134 if you include the cover. This is the free previews, Marvel free previews. Isn't that? Oh, look at that! What happened to Wolverine's face? What'd you do with his nose? I got your nose, Logan. It's the World of Revelation, and this is the new status quo. It's free, and it's just filled with solicitations. It's the Age of Revelation. That's just the X-Men mini. That's the X-Men mini event, because the rest of the Marvel Universe goes on. We got some Amazing Spider-Man coming up. We got Spider-Man Torn by J. Michael Straczynski. What'll that be? I don't know. I can't read that anymore. Venom issue 250 is coming out, and looks like Null is back. And it's going to be written by Charles Soule and Al Ewing. It's the all new Venom. Or do they drop? It looks like they're dropping. No, it doesn't say all new Venom. just says Venom, so they're dropping all new. Oh, I got spoiled on something this week. You pay attention to this week's issue of all new Venom. Speaking of Venom, Imperial Guardians. It's 4/4, and Ultimate Comics. Woo! Ultimate Incursion issue 5 of 8. Oh, jeez. X-Men, Ultimate X-Men number 20. Yeah, you know how I feel about that. And here, the countdown to issue 1000. Amazing Spider-Man. And this is what we were promised. We have a cosmic Spider-Man. It's going to be drawn by Pepe Larraz. And then we're going to have Peter Parker, the Earth Spider-Man, drawn by John Romita Jr. And I'm like, I kind of like that. Because I like John Romita Jr.'s art. G. Willow Wilson's going to be doing a Black Cat book. That should be interesting. Her Poison Ivy book is outstanding. I should be giving that more attention. And it goes on and on. Facsimiles, Jeff the Land Shark. Oh boy, yeah, the 20th Century Fox books, Predator, and Predator Kills the Marvel Universe by Ben Percy. Boba Fett, Black, White, and Red. Han Solo, The Hunt for the Falcon. Who cares? It all leads to the fucking sequel trilogy. There's nothing that you painted yourself into a corner. Star Wars number 6 with art by Phil Noto. Look at that cover. Oh, Valence, Solo, and Luke have to go undercover, and they have to look like 501st people. Oh, who cares? Stormtroopers. The Legacy of Vader, number 9. That's Star Wars for you. Yeah, and that's it. So it's 128 pages. It's for free. And you get stuff like this. This is called swag. Stuff we all get. Swag. But what real funny books did I get? Well, let me show you. I got Ultimate Spider-Man issue number 19 of 24. This will be wrapping up very soon. Now it's $4.99. Wrong button. $4.99 times 24. It's $119.76 for a story that'll ultimately go nowhere. Because all it's doing is going towards the ultimate endgame. That's going to be written by Dennis Camp. This is where I'm getting off the ship. I got off the ship at Ultimate X-Men number 4 because I knew I could see right through it, man. And I was right. I'm correct with every issue of that comes out. But now I've lost all my steam for this book because it's like, where's this going? It's going nowhere. But I make a commitment. It's only 5 more issues. That's 25 more bucks. Am I obligated to? Isn't the fact that I'm dissatisfied and feeling obligated, isn't that part of a problem? Yeah. I'm sorry. Sometimes that's one of the down points about being a fan, I guess. I got Hulk 27, and I got this awesome variant cover. That's why, because it was on the shelf, and I got an A cover in my pull, and I just switched it out at the shelf, and it's the last. Because I can get a variant cover. I like that. It's a great variant cover. This is a really good art by Kev Walker, and it's about a monster versus a monster. This is a ghost story. And this human monster, has to face a real monster or a fictional monster in the Hulk. This is really good art by Kev Walker, and he's been really hit or miss with me lately. He was really good on Guardians of the Galaxy and the Blood Hunt Union Jack tie-in book. But everything else he's done around that too, it's been kind of like kind of meh. So he's really hit or miss. Now here's Spider-Man and Wolverine issue 3, written by Mark Guggenheim with art by Kari Andrews. Awesome art by Kari Andrews. Look, everything that goes on this cover happens in the book. And at the end of last book, they wake up in the Savage Land. How? We don't know. There's kind of a clue at the last page of this. You know, things may not be what they seem, but both Wolverine and Spider-Man, not only do they wake up on the Savage Land, but they're both in costumes that they were not wearing in the previous issue. And they both realize that, hey, why am I dressed in black? And Wolverine's like, why am I dressed in my old costume? And it's part of the mystery. And I literally, the first time I read this, I was like, what the hell is going on here? At least the art is just so good. It elevates this confusing story. But after a reread, I read it two more times in order to wrap my head around this. But it's full with action and this awesome Kari Andrews artwork. So at least it makes sense. At first, I thought that, like, you know, why am I getting this? You know, am I obligated? But then, you know, after rereading it, realized, yes, it's pretty good. Okay. And my pick of the week, you might find it on your shelf. Your city might be, if you're in a big city, this might be part of something that you could buy. Godzilla is a property that's out there everywhere. Not only does Marvel have it, but DC Comics has it. And also IDW has it concurrently. So the comic book rights for Godzilla are in 3 different places. 3 different, is it in Glorious Bastards? 3 different places. 3 bits. At once. Does that make them a multiverse? Are they canonically connected through this? Like, you know, they're all imaginary stories, aren't they? As Alan Moore so eloquently put in Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow, the end of the pre-crisis Superman, the last pre-crisis Superman story. It's called Godzilla vs. America, and it's an anthology series, a series of one-shots coming soon to a city near you. But the first issue is my very own Boston, Massachusetts. Look at that cover. This is also this is another cover that shows him going through Kenmore Square with the Citgo sign, but it's like upside down. But that's Fenway Park. That's the Citgo sign. That's a section of our and that's a nice cartooning of my skyline. Seriously, you can see the Bunker Hill Monument. You can see the Zakim Bridge, formerly known as the Billy Buckner Bridge, the Hancock Tower, the Prue, that other building that sprung up overnight. I call it the R2D2 building. I wonder if anyone else does. I can see MIT, and it's across the river. Ain't that cool? Oh wow, that dome right here. That's MIT, and that's kind of geographically correct. This is 4 different stories in this wonderful anthology set in different times. Like, this is set in the late 1800s. Imagining if Godzilla was destroying Boston, a seafaring town, you know what I mean? Because Godzilla comes from the sea, and he ends up, I don't know how, but how does they end up sticking Godzilla in the eye with the Bunker Hill Monument, which is an obelisk, and he goes back to the sea, and then you got this. You get this one that's kind of like Jimmy Corrigan, you know what I mean? Smartest boy in the planet. Yeah, it's got that Chris Ware kind of look. Did Chris Ware do this? Because Chris Ware is... No, Jesse Lonergan did this. All right. But then there's Make Way for Mothra. And it has Mothra... just Oh shit! Where did it go? Godzilla coming up. The water. There's he's in the park. It's pretty cool. And then he ends up putting the Mothra up. And Mothra enters its pupa stage. Its cocoon in Fenway Park. And then Mothra and Godzilla will continue to destroy the city together, of course. And then there's one called the Green Line. As you can hear the red line go by. I mean, this is really fun. It's very accurate to the city. Hayden Sherman did the art and story for this too. He's doing the art for Absolute Wonder Woman and for Batman Dark Patterns with Dan Waters, one of the unheralded finest Batman books that's going on right now. Look, the Coolidge Corner movie theater. Ain't that cool? That's where the sea line goes. And at the end of it, we find Godzuki. Ain't that cute? Ain't that cute? That was so nice. I really enjoyed the hell out of that. And that's all the comic books we got. We did Samurai Saturday here at the homestead, and my pick this week for Samurai Saturday is Throne of Blood, 1957, black and white, Akira Kurosawa, Toshiro Mifune. And this is, as we covered Kagemusha a couple of weeks ago, and Kagemusha is a retelling of Kagemusha is not a retelling. I also watched Ran, which is one of the 1980s Kurosawa movies. The three of his 26 movies shot in color. I have 11 of Kurosawa's movies in my collection. I love Akira Kurosawa movies. So Ran was King Lear. This is Macbeth. Purposefully, Kurosawa and his love of Shakespeare and adapting it to a Japanese milieu. And so this is Macbeth set in the samurai days. It is so good. It's got a great ending. And so this is a Criterion edition. I watch it with the cast and crew commentary. Actually, not the critic. It wouldn't have the cast and crew commentary. That's Lord of the Rings. I watch. This has a samurai movie, a Kurosawa movie specialist, an expert who wrote a book doing the commentary track, telling us about the elements of no theater. No theater is different than kabuki. When we think of Japanese theater, we usually presume kabuki, which is like, exaggerated big masks but no, theater preceded kabuki. And there's just that stereotypical, Japanese music of a woodwind, and then a percussion with like woods, and you hear high clicks, and then beat drums, and these dancers in very static, very purposeful movements, and with symbolic face paints and masks, and their steps, like their toes are always like up, and very purposeful steps, and choreographed. It's very like minimalist dance. It's like no theater is very minimalist, and it's just interesting stuff. So Akira Kurosawa usually throws in elements of no theater into all of his samurai movies, music-wise, as well as having it be in the background, because it was theater, and the samurais were elite, usually well-to-do, especially if the higher up you are, especially if you're like a warlord, or a daimyo, something like, I love samurai lore. I love samurai movies. And so Samurai Saturday, it's something that International Film Channel used to have back in the cable days. They probably still do, but everything's so a la carte these days. And I love physical media. I also love commentary tracks explaining different things about culture and about the director and like little anecdotes about the cast. This, that, and the other thing. The insider's view. And I'm a big movie fan. I'm a huge cinema fan. And big on Akira Kurosawa. So you'll be hearing that name a lot when it comes to Samurai Saturdays. What do you think I do after Comics Aficionados? And speaking of Saturday, next Saturday, I will not be on Comics Aficionados. Or maybe I told Wes, maybe like, hey, send me the link. And I'll do a live reporter on the scene from Boston Fan Expo 2025. And maybe I'll see you there. Seriously, I put the word out. I am meeting up with a couple of people. We might see Memes of Destruction. I know I'll be seeing Thomas Gilkey, the Gilkman, returns. I'm going with my childhood best friend, Brian. Who else will go? Everyone. We used to have, back in 2022, we had a meetup with this YouTube crowd of ours. And, and some time has spread us apart, I guess. But everyone's welcome in a way, and if I'll probably see James there, the Wicked fanboy. I've seen him and James also. There are free tickets going around, or you can make a donation. That's what I did. I gave him a $25 donation in lieu of the ticket price, but at the Seaport Hotel on Sunday, October 9th, I believe. But it's the Wicked Boston Comic Con Part 2, and I know Ed McGuinness will be there, and I'm gonna check it out too, hopefully. And that'll be my third con this year, and I'm looking forward to it. I like going to comic book conventions. I like meeting people. I like this is my culture. This is my hobby. I like having something to do, and maybe, just maybe, I can meet that special geeky girl that I can that won't be threatened by my man-child, trappings. That will want to cosplay with me. I'd like to meet a girl that want to dress. I would I can shave off my beard, paint my head silver, and go as Destro, and she can go as Baroness. I would love that. Wouldn't that be cool? Or go as Captain America, and she can go as Peggy Carter. something like that. His and her cosplays. That's what I deserve. I deserve his and her cosplays. Don't we all? Well, thank you so much for tuning in today for the Super Sully Sunday stream. I'm starting to lose my voice, and it's hey, you try talking nonstop for 90 minutes to 2 hours. I got a gift of gab. A gift of gab is the gift that I have. I'm not girling, nothing but hag. Educated, no. Stupid, yep. And when I say stupid, I mean stupid. I'm not James at 16 or Chachi in charge. I got open up in the mind. I just bobbled that. It's supposed to be some Beastie Boys. Hey, ladies, get funky. That's right. Hey, ladies. Girlies. Get it funky now. Awesome. Okay, on that note, let's wrap up the show. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Please, if you haven't subscribed yet, if you've been just making it the last thing you're going to do today, why don't you go ahead and smash that subscribe button, smash that like button, hit the share button, leave a comment, be part of this comic book shop style conversation. And remember, as I said on Wes is Thinking Critical yesterday, James Cameron's Avatar, the first movie, is a remake of James Cameron's Aliens. There are 10 to 12 huge similarities that are undeniable. And I put this out there, and it was just a wonderfully, it was like a geek grenade to throw in a room. Be like, what are you talking about, Sully? Are you mad? Yes. But what does that have to do with James Cameron's Avatar being a remake of his very own Aliens? It's out there. And I thought it was just in some of the trappings, like the dropship and the exosuit part. But no, it's like alien colonization, resources, going native, the protagonist was disillusioned and now have something to be part of. It's there's a lot of it. It's out there, man. Roman's a huge movie fan. He does a weekly movie show with a huge cast of characters, also including James the Ginger Ninja Harris, who's a friend of ours too. So click on the Roman of the Empire's icon right here in the chat. That will lead you to his page. Either that or you right click his name and it brings up the drop target. There's something going on with that. I know it's something like that. And God bless. Namaste. Good luck. And we will see you in those funny pages. All right. Ciao. Bye-bye.